And we're back. And we what's today, by the way? Wednesday?
Uh, it's Thursday, I think.
Is it really?
I think so. Could be wrong. I think it is.
7 days. That's the longest
It is Thursday.
that's all right. I'm thinking about my cat, of course, that's been missing since last Wednesday. So this is the I don't want to say it 8 days. That's not a good 8 days still won't come back. Come on, Nancy. Come on
Wow.
back.
Oh no. So you got a cat that's like taken off?
She does these long I'm hoping she's got another family that's treating her good and it just is what it is at this point. It's Kentucky style. She's got two families now. I'm hoping she's hanging out somewhere getting fed and all that. And because she's done it twice now for 6 days, being the
Jeez.
longest she was gone, and then she comes back and I'm like, oh, where were you? You know, and she's just back and everything's fine again. But this is day 8. It's a new thing this year. She never had ever done that. In the past, she'd be gone for a day or a night, you know.
Wow. Damn cat.
Yeah. Same, she took off the same day the other cat died. So all of a sudden, from 4 cats, it's down to 2. But we'll see how that plays out. Anyways, today's Wednesday. We left off with Jibber Jabber, that last one. We were talking about astrology. I was trying to answer your question. You asked how long
Oh yeah.
the ages were, and I was kind of giving you multiple answers, and I looked into it more, and it's like, well, I now know why I was jumbling the numbers because it's not too clear cut. Uh,
No,
it's
doesn't seem to be.
but I was looking at it, and in my opinion, there's enough there to show that like everyone's hovering around the same idea of it's here, it's upon us, Aquarius. When exactly did it start? Is Yeah, there's different things that I've heard and I stick with, and yeah, just it's pretty
Well, it
evident.
seems to be that if it has started, it was fairly recent, right? Like last couple of years, few years, something like that.
Yeah, there's these 2020 numbers of March
Right.
2021 or December 2020. There was the equinox, I think, in December that year, everyone was saying was something special. Um, I've carried around this idea that the 60s were when some of the energy start of Aquarius started flooding in, and the movements of the time represent that, and um yeah, they played homage to it, and like that song, The Age of Aquarius, that was a
Right.
60s song.
Yeah. A very cheesy song.
Yeah, little side note, like I come from a very, Christian household, Bible believing, reading, abiding household. Um, and so no
Same
room,
here.
no room for astrology. And, I just picked up astrology in the last 4 or 5 years on my own.
Yeah.
And so it was never even on my radar or anything like that. Um, but man, I just lost my point. What the hell was I gonna say? Oh, my parents. My parents, though, back in the day, eh, funny enough, so in the last 4 or 5 years, I started talking about it, learning things, talking about this idea about the age of Aquarius. They're my like, besides you, I talk to my parents more than anyone, and
Uh,
I have talked to them plenty about astrology and threw ideas out them that they're kind of. My mom seems to understand some things. She's picking up on some of it. My dad's not as, you know, ready or wanting to, and I respect that. And anyways, long story short, my mom was like in a play called The Age of Aquarius in high school or something. And she was like, she sang that song. That was like her song or something. She had to sing in front of everyone that song.
Jeez,
As
man.
funny as it was. And then my dad, he is like, anti high school. He was a worker and just hang out and doing his thing. He was with the car guys, and his buddy was drag racer, and it was like a partner deal. My dad and this guy, they were into like some street racing, but the other guy was the driver. My dad wasn't the driver. But anyways, that car was called the Son of Aquarius, was the car,
Uh,
and they like had this T-shirt that was in my recollection. My dad had this T-shirt that was like the Son of Aquarius. So
it's too bad you still didn't have that. You could sport it.
yeah, it'd be a cool one. I mean, and then I just when I started thinking and seeing there was something to it all, and I should go find out for myself. Um, yeah, I don't want to hog the show here, hog everything about me, but yeah, it's been interesting learning this and that about it from a worldview, from a interpersonal perspective, what
Yeah.
these birth charts are about. So, what are your thoughts, if any?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of, my exploration of astrology has really not gone much further than, the birth chart kind of stuff, and kind of amusing myself with that, and kind of sending it, to other people, like I sent that site to you, where you can like get your chart reading and that kind of thought, kind of stuff like
Yeah, that's
uh um
prevalent.
I mean, you know, considering that, I mean, this all, this stuff has been around forever, astrology, in the Western world, of course, and then you have like Vedic astrology. Have you looked much into that kind of end of things? Because it's a little different, right?
Oh yeah. I mean it's yes, it is different. It is different. It is
In some ways or something.
it's yeah, there's a little controversial and so, I've come around on being edgy about things and I see how it helps to not, have all your eggs in one basket or think it's only one way or whatever you want to say. And so I kind of like the astrologers that kind of also say that and see that. And so they might adhere to one over the other, but like I was saying, it's open to interpretation, yet a lot of the same themes come through. They're arguing over the placement, how the energy is affecting each other, and like, you know, there's more than one way to read the same kind of thing. And then depending on how you read it, your output is different. And then you can argue about it and be like, I mean, so that's kind of what's up with it. Like the stars are up there, everyone can see where they're at the same time. Uh, it's now the system of how they were already, yeah. I'm not an expert at it and like at all. It's a there's so much to learn and take in with it, but I
Yeah.
I am slowly. There's no rush to it for me. My talking about the birth chart stuff. Anything you might have learned from it that it pointed out to you, that website, that reading you said you had, that maybe you were like, wow, that is kind of like me, and it said it for me. That kind of stuff is very interesting. One of the things about me, and it rings pretty true, but it didn't come to my attention until a couple years ago, is my chart's kind of set up that my like occupation is like uncertain. It's like vague, it's not there, it's unseen. It's very Piscean, which is like, or yeah, and it's just it's hard for me to pinpoint what I'm supposed to be doing. And I felt that way for a long time. My life has shown that, and it's right there on the birth chart blueprint, you could call it, of what my life was going to be. And however, if there is something I'm made for, it could be of like the spiritual nature. And in fact, when I have gotten a reading or two from some people that, I think they know what they're doing. They've pointed out that I could be in, like, make a career in astrology. And so it's like, okay, well, yeah. So I mean, that information came later before I already took an interest, you know. I've thrown you more than a few, probably different people here and there. And, the Peace Dealer being one of them, the black guy that lives in Vegas that does skits and different,
Yeah,
does his moon readings pretty frequently. And I think, he's got some unique insight. And well, anyways, one of the things he pointed out is just like throughout history, there was always males in astrology, and it went hand in hand with a lot of things, philosophy and, um, you know, depending on who and we're talking about, they could be, yeah, doctors or lawyers or whoever that also took interest and gave credence to astrology, and they were male.
yeah,
But as of late, until this recent resurgence, it was like a female thing, right? To read your horoscope, and that was about it. And all the
it
males
seems to be, yeah,
were avoiding it. But along the same lines of some of our other talks, as much as it's real enough to me, real it is. There's something there. There's a lot there. It seems to also be part of this, where I keep saying we're like being given certain topics and things and trends to join into. Astrology seems to be one of them. All of a sudden, it's just there's apps and there's people talking about it online. It's popping up as talking points, like in dialogue on TV shows and in movies, and you see newspaper, you'll see, the media even talk about it here and there. And maybe that was always there, but it wasn't like, again, it was like for a few ladies that kept up with their horoscopes. Whereas now I see the Gen Zs and the males are like finding they should figure shit out with it because the females are so into it that to just be relevant, they're trying to understand. So,
right, yeah. Well, it is kind of funny. I mean, like a long time ago, when I was on one of those like dating sites, you could sort people out, by their sign. So I would just immediately exclude, like, all Geminis, and like probably Aquarius, stuff like that, but definitely Gemini. I wasn't going near one of them. They scare me.
oh yeah, that's um I think I understand that now better than ever. I don't know what I'm gonna say more than that. I kind of get it. And the
Yeah,
Aquarius too is pretty fickle. You got to be in with the Aquarius people, and yeah, hopefully.
yeah. I mean, it's funny. I know this chick. I mean, she's like an acquaintance who's an Aquarius, and I mean, she's like a walking cliche of Aquarius. You know, and that's not really a good thing in my book. She's tough for me to like navigate. A tough personality. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, if you're on their wavelength, it's great. they're gonna be awesome to you. But it's
Yeah,
there's television usually with Aquarius energy because they know what they know and they're so certain that way works. It's like let's
yeah.
let's not talk about anything else ever.
No, that's true. I mean, it's really kind of like almost like hyper focus, tunnel vision, obsessed kind of thing.
Well, yeah, you keep reaffirming it and getting more and more experience with with the same information, the same outlook, and yeah, you're an expert at it. And it's nice when someone comes and tells you you're an expert, or they come and listen to you be an expert. And depending on how mature the person is, when the person comes and tells them there's another way, or your way is getting outdated or something, like we get to see.
Well, it's kind of funny. I mean, like this chick is kind of stuck. She kind of seems like she's stuck in like somewhere in the 90s. Her expertise is like she thinks she's an expert on punk rock of all things, you know, which is, I don't know, it's inane, if you ask me, but yeah, she doesn't seem to be able to like really even acknowledge that there's anything else besides punk rock. Yeah, I don't, it's like I don't know what all this punk rock is supposed to, or where she thinks like this actually exists, but it certainly seems to exist in her head.
Is
Some sort of tribe of punks. It's like, where do you see this? Like,
but she's local to you in Fort Collins.
yeah,
Come comes to your shows. She's a groupie.
no, she's not a groupie. We actually met. Well, these are the people that were. She's one of this couple that were putting on shows at this Elks Lodge before it got shut down. So that's how I ran and that's how I met these two, this girl and her boyfriend guy. They're like she's probably like 10 years younger than me or something like that, but she looks about 20 years older than me.
That's unfortunate, I guess.
It is, especially when these chicks like get into the weird crazy color for their hair kind of stuff.
Uh,
It's not a good, it doesn't help.
I've said many times, like, it's funny to me how different our interests are, if you want to look at it that way. And I mean, we have obviously we found each other over some similar interests, but we come from different eras, and from dinosaurs to punk rock, um, our tastes can be different with some things, and that's like I've wanted to say a few times, like, dude, my knowledge and of punk rock is and experience with it, like I hardly ever gave it any time, and um,
Well,
I'm glad
you didn't
Ray
miss much, Sal.
and some of the people in the group seem to, like it as much as you do, and I'm happy about that.
I wouldn't say that I like it. It's not something I like. I think I liked it when I was like 20 or something. That was kind of the last, I it's not something I could possibly take seriously. It seems like, it's just, just another sort of silly kind of little fantasy world that doesn't exist. You know? I don't
Okay.
think it ever existed. I think, everything, the Sex Pistols and the Ramones and all this. I mean, they were just, they're just different versions of, boy bands instead of, I don't know what's a boy band, Justin Timberlake or something, and
In sync, yeah, sure.
or whatever. I can't even think of the names, but yeah, this punk rock stuff, like, yeah, it's just another nonsense thing to sell the youth,
What was the
right?
what were the phrases behind it? Like, what were the mantras of the time?
Well, I mean, like anarchy, I mean, I can't really, like dressing up like, some sort of cross between like, S&M and like a biker or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess I was just I understand. I know that, and you're just saying you lived it, so you know. Uh,
Vaguely,
what
I mean,
hooked you? You know what was? Do you remember what hooked you first?
well, I sort of discovered the Sex Pistols, I think, when I was in like, I think I was like in seventh or eighth grade. Uh, and I only knew of them for, a long time. You couldn't just, look up their music or whatever on the phone or on YouTube or something. But I guess, just, kind of the bad attitude and the, F you mom and F you dad and all that. Like that was the level of my interest.
That's interesting because you're like the age of like the firstborns of the boomers, right? Like, and they came from such a manners forward, follow the rules, and
Yeah.
you'll do good in life type of upbringing, and then you guys are coming of age and you're being, taught how to rebel against them. I mean, it's just like everything's been so systematic in the course of whatever's just taking place in America here. It's it's cool to look back at it and see how it all went down.
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny to think though that like, I mean, my parents, and probably your parents, like if they would have been like hip and cool, like the punk rock stuff was totally, for their generation, like the early 70s and all that stuff. I mean, that's when, it kind of appeared,
Okay.
and that's when like my dad or whatever, he was like 20 or early 20s.
You just
So
caught wind of it real early in your life.
what's that?
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. That's
Yeah,
for
I mean, so like, for me to get into like, it's all this like stuff from the 70s. I wasn't, I was, either a fetus in the 70s or, you know, an infant or whatever. So
yeah.
I was definitely too late, really, to get in on the, when it really happened. Because like the time, by the time I was a teenager and or early 20s and stuff like that, I mean, all this punk rock stuff was like a long time ago, pretty much. I mean, it was like, you know, uh, like Green Day was punk rock somehow, for people my age or whatever. Green Day, you know, just like a caricature of like they were like a caricature of a caricature.
Good way to
So
put it. I see what you're saying with that. And the whole idea that it's, it's just it's fun. It's not supposed to be real to a degree. It's supposed to be
yeah,
it should be taken lightly, not like
yes,
your Aquarius friend over there.
right. Who somehow thinks it's all real. It's very funny. It's like she's probably like, I don't know, mid 40s or something like that, and still, I don't know, man. Well, I mean, the girl's not the brightest bulb, so whatever.
Okay. Speaking of which, maybe she got, a public education. compared to a Rudolf Steiner education, the Waldorf schools. You know anything about the Waldorf schools?
No, I mean, I know the famous, you
Rudolf,
know, kind of robber baron family, Waldorf,
yeah, yeah,
kind of like the Carnegies or whatever.
sure. They seem to have their hands everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how it got the Waldorf name, probably how that always works, endowments, whatever it is, but they credit it to the German Rudolf Steiner, uh, coming up
Yeah.
with schools, or I don't know. He seemed to have many titles as well.
Mm.
I, but I had heard something recently, like the Waldorf schools were being brought up because people are like anti-public school lean, and so they're finding out, oh wow, this private school exists that's pretty cool, but it's super expensive. And then they're finding out, well, wait a minute, I can't afford this. No one can.
Oh
That's
my God, right? Yeah, right.
but the link for me today in this to bring it together is that, and I'll talk about the Waldorf school a second, but Rudolf Steiner seemed to be interested in astrology quite a bit, even though he's
Yeah.
also got this ground down to earth school that like the elites must be sending their kids to, or someone, very wealthy people are. And Steiner had some ideas about Aquarius I was looking at, and I could go in two directions. We only have 10 minutes left. Um, and one of the directions back fully into like astrology concepts of how long the ages are, and how Steiner was saying something kind of different than it's happening now. He was forecasting another 1,000 years almost. And some,
Yeah. His estimates seem to be way in the future.
yeah, um, yeah, it was. I wrote it down.
Yeah, it was like the year
35,
like
35,
30.
73.
Right. Yeah.
Then that's 1,500 years away. Um,
Yeah.
so some quick numbers. Some estimates are okay. So why I was confused the last one is like the overlaps are pretty big, it seems like, of let's say the past Pisces energy and Aquarius energy. And then somewhere finally, I guess Pisces would be gone. That's your clear cut Aquarius. And then eventually you're gonna get some overlap with the next one, which would be Capricorn. And
Mm.
so, all again up, but 2,000 year 2160 is the number thrown around if you just Google it per age. 2,160 years. And then
Yeah.
there's 12 ages adding up to a procession of 25,000 years to go through an entire procession of this cycle. Um, so Steiner's estimate, or it being now again, would be in a similar over, there's if the age is over 2,000 years old, um,
Which I guess it is, right?
but
It's
and
been it's been 2000 plus, since Christ, whatever.
well, right, so right there in the generic or
Mr.
Gregorian
Pisces.
calendar, that's what I was trying to like talk out yesterday, but it's hard when you kind of understand the timeline games, and you're always trying to like show you kind of know that, but at the same time,
Yeah.
we're working with.
Yeah.
But that's what something I've come to. Carson from the group chat, I've had conversations with him about how, yeah, they switched everything, but then it works. Like the new system they give you works until you poke holes at it, right? And you're like, until you ask why too much, like, why am I doing this? And but that's what's the hardest part for Globies to like let go. It's like this, the numbers work, they gave us these equations, and we run them and they work, and
Yeah.
so
Well, if I could just interject, not to get diverted, but one of the most interesting things that kind of that I learned, not terribly long ago, is that astrology only works. It doesn't work on a globe, right? The globe model, the heliocentric, everything whirling and flying through space, and right, it doesn't work. You can't have astrology in that kind of cosmology. Anyway, I thought that was interesting.
oh, it's huge. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate there's a lot of astrologers that don't know that or
Yeah.
get.
No, I mean, I've never run across any that you know have made that connection like that. You know that
Yeah,
the NASA, the world of NASA, and all that stuff. Like you know their little astrology stuff is not even possible.
yeah, you gotta just weed out what works, I guess, nowadays with everything. I'm definitely four or five of these people I've been following for a while now. I it's a variety package of voices that I'm listening to, and yeah, I think only one of them really gives credence to flat Earth, and then
Huh.
yeah, yeah, I mean, two of them avoid it because they know their followers won't like it. So I think they're seeing it. I've seen the one Peace Dealer. I don't know where Peace Dealer's at with it actually. I don't. He's afraid. He's got a big following, so he doesn't touch it too much. But definitely,
Yeah,
the point you made is correct. I don't, maybe we can talk about some flat Earth concepts or something. The next one, we can talk about why that is, why we're saying you can't have astrology without flat Earth um understanding.
yeah, right. Or well, kind of a level, unmoving surface,
There's a lot,
non-rotating, whatever, however you want to put it. Right.
there's a lot to point to, and I mean, a ton to point to. It's already out there. People have been that gave us this explanation of how it works before. Seems like that was pushed aside, and then we are given this globe information and this space information, and somehow they kind of just let the astrology people coexist with the new explanations they gave us. But if anyone again wants to poke at it, you can't have these cyclical events that we're monitoring and always been monitoring going on at the same time with the explanation of all the revolving nature of
Yeah.
Earth and the planets and the solar systems, and that's chaos.
Yeah.
That's
It is.
they're telling us it's chaos, so it just doesn't go hand in hand. A very
Yeah.
calculated system of astrology with this chaos that they taught us in school.
Right.
So
Yeah. The shit doesn't jive. But then again, like, in the world of the scientism and the pseudoscientists and stuff like that, astrology is a bunch of nonsense, right? So,
they're always
you
playing,
know,
bouncing people back and forth with what to believe.
yeah, yeah, it's woo-woo shit, astrology. So you can be an astrologer and believe in all this globe stuff without it, having any, you know, cognitive dissonance or whatever in your head. These two things can agree, because the one is like spiritual and the other is science. So it's like, you know,
Goes on all the time. Most of the I'm gonna go quick as we only got a couple minutes. Most of the people are, millennial age, our age that I've adhered to. I like how their take, what they have to say when they're doing their reels, astrology readings and stuff like that. One of them, Emily Rideout, she's in Colorado, she's in Denver, who I really like her take. She I did some Zooms with her actually once. I paid for $15 for a class or whatever.
not really.
And then we were all in the Zoom, and then she brought in this other guy, and he was an older guy. And long story short, super globy, out of touch with tons of things, that
Wow. Oh
yes,
no.
yes, no, I mean, pure wisdom in these other ways, just pure enlightenment on, telling you about life, like how your life, like he was just glancing at our charts and things and able to tell us some of the experiences and things we were gonna probably, he was really an interpersonal astrologer, understanding the dynamics of like you and your parents, you and siblings, you and your friendships, things of that nature. And
Oh yeah, that's cool.
so it's just, we've talked about this, not on this, you know, about how everyone's got their information. Just because someone doesn't know something, you know, the idea of counting people out, call them NPCs or normies or whatever, because they don't understand the flat Earth. I'm past that, you know.
Yeah, no, of course. That's juvenile. Yeah.
Mm.